A couple of days ago, the Milwaukee Brewers had a stranglehold on the best record in the National League. Not anymore. What a difference a couple of days makes. We'll get to that next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to join you on a beautiful day here in the terrific state of Wisconsin. It's a Thursday. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. My name is Chuck Freimund, proud host for the last few years and longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin. Appreciate you all tuning in here on an off day for the Brewers. Coming up on the show, the race is tightening in not only the NL Central, but in the National League for that number one seed. We'll talk about that. Contreras sat out of Wednesday's game. We'll talk about his latest injury for the Milwaukee Brewers. Mailbag. We haven't had a chance to do a lot of mailbag lately. We'll get to some of that. And the Brewers have the Cardinals coming in. That is not going to be an easy out this weekend. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament, anyone in the United States. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. It ends October 31st, 2025. I know some people out there are panicking regarding this. Brewers, the magic number is 11 for the division and 11 for a first round bye. And I'm seeing it, and I'm going to read some of those comments a little bit later on. Right now, the Brewers' lead over the Phillies is down to 2.5. I hear you. I know. I almost don't even want to look at it or even talk about it, but it's a reality. Lead over the Cubs is 5.5. That's a little bit more comfortable. Dodgers, 6.5. Cubs just won their final 2 games against the Braves. The Phillies swept the series from the New York Mets. Mets have I don't know how the Mets ever got 20 games over the 500 mark because they have like no interest in playing anymore, I feel like. And the Milwaukee Brewers, well, for only the second time this year, they've been swept in a 3-game series. You got to go back to that dreadful first weekend of the season against the Yankees when the Brewers looked like they were going to, maybe win 40 games this year. But they bounced back quickly from that series after their opening day debacle, and they bounced back from an 0-4 start. And, of course, are 89-58 and looking great. Yeah, tough series against the Rangers. Tough series. We'll get to some of that here in a little bit. But some of you guys are here in panic mode regarding this team and worrying. Yeah, the Phillies are coming on strong. Brewers have to right themselves this weekend against St. Louis. They have a 6-game homestand coming up. And I feel like with the Brewers, a lot of magic happens at home, especially late in the game. Yeah, the Cardinals coming in, who are just coming off a dreadful series where they got beat by St. Louis, including an extra inning game late Wednesday night. So they flew into Milwaukee early Thursday morning and had the day to recuperate from the early morning hours flight. So the Cardinals won't be easy, and they got the Angels next week. Brewers will see the Angels for the first time coming up next week in a 3-game series at AmFam Field. I'm not in panic mode, worry mode at all, because I feel like every time this happens, now it's not been this low in a while, down to 2.5 on the Phillies. It hasn't been. The Phillies started playing some better ball after they left here, right? They took the final 2 games against Milwaukee last week at AmFam Field. And, they didn't take the final 2. They took 2 or 3. The Brewers won the middle game of that series. But the Phillies are playing some good ball. I still think Milwaukee is a better team. Overall, the Brewers are a better team. They're battling some injuries. They're battling a tired bullpen. The Brewers, I hope, my fear is, will they have enough gas? Not to finish get over the finish line of the regular season, but for the postseason. Are things eventually going to catch up? Yeah, of course I had that worry. I still think they're going to get the best record in the National League. They're certainly going to win the National League Central. Now, I'm not saying it's a given. All this talk about, the Brewers have to go 500 here and there. I don't want to hear any of that. I don't want to hear that Brewers going to go 500 in their final games here. That does me no good. So you got, 15 games left. I don't want to say, they go 7-8. No. Don't count on a team just getting smoking hot like the Brewers did in 2018. That's how they won the National League Central and forced that one-game playoff. They were on fire in that final week of the season. So clinching a playoff berth, not worried about that. And I'm not even thinking about that, but I want that number one seed and holding off the Philadelphia Phillies for that number one seed. Got to do that. The sky is falling for a number of you guys out there. A day to reset on a Thursday and get back out on a Friday. But as Murphy pointed out, his teams have only been swept in a 3-game series 3 times in his over 300 days or 300 games of managing. It's pretty darn good. I guarantee the Brewers have swept the Phillies already this year. I know the Cubs have never aren't on that run. And certainly the Dodgers, they've showed some helplessness this summer as well. Oh, yeah. Good for the Dodgers. They got fat in Colorado this week. Way to go, Los Angeles. After you got beat in a 3-game series last week by the Pirates, I guess the Dodgers bounced back. Still feel the Brewers are better than all these teams, Philadelphia, the Cubs, and the Dodgers. And I don't want to hear any of it. Yeah, we got to go to the postseason. Got to finish this thing off. But the Brewers, I feel, pound for pound. And don't talk to, you can talk about star power all you want and throw your Shoheis and Bryce Harpers at me all you want. I'm telling you, and payrolls, this Brewer team is better than those teams. There's a reason they didn't luck into 89 wins. Did not luck into 89 wins. We're grouped this weekend against St. Louis. The Cardinals will not be easy. The Cardinals technically are fighting for a wild card spot, yet they're 4.5 out. They got to leapfrog ahead of a bunch of teams, but they're still in this thing. They are still in this thing, and we'll give the Brewers some competition, right? We'll give the Brewers some. Maybe we'll see a little less Cardinal fans there this weekend. We saw a little less at Busch Stadium this year with the Cardinal team that was supposed to be in a rebuilding year, but Marmol's got those guys competing. He does, even though it didn't look very well. I mean, they were in all 3 of those games against Seattle this week. All right. I do want to touch on Freddy Peralta. He's not on the rundown there. I didn't talk about, but Freddy Peralta, he ran into 112 pitches on Wednesday. And I was nobody's talking about this, but I'm ticked off about that. Freddie should not have finished off that game. And I feel like him pitching those extra pitches, I hope that doesn't cost him. Freddie's running up a lot of pitches these days. We know that. The high pitch counts, the early high pitch counts, 30 pitch innings. That's, that shouldn't happen for a guy of his caliber. And I keep hearing he's still learning. He's, going to get some Cy Young Award votes, but I don't care about that. I don't care about those postseason awards. But he's throwing he's getting behind in counts, 0-2, and then working at the 3-2, and then a couple of foul balls. And then finally he might get the hit or he might walk the guy. But he's getting in a long at-bats because some of his pitches way outside the strike zone aren't even competitive pitches. And even Baez wouldn't be swinging at those pitches. And Baez swings at everything. So he's throwing some pitches, wasting some pitches. Bad pitches, terrible pitches. But going to need him. I know some of you guys are worried about him pitching in a postseason game. Even somebody wrote me and said they don't want Peralta to pitch game 1. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Yeah, Murphy has said he's got to get that pitch count under control. There's certain things he's got to get under control before he takes that next jump out. Yeah, he's been great this year, but there's still a ceiling there where I think Freddie can take this to another level. And Freddie's going to have another year with us, right? Not trading him in the offseason. I want to ride Freddie out, man. Don't want to be trading him. He's making $8 million next year. If we lose him to free agency, okay. I don't see the Brewers re-signing him in this offseason. I don't see that. They don't pay for pitching. They don't, and I don't see it happening here. But I certainly do not want to trade Freddie in the offseason. I want to go into next year with Peralta on my team. Now, I don't want to do the same thing we did with Burns, okay? With Peralta, win or lose this year, I want him back on the team next year. Want him back on the team. But do I feel confident with him in game 1 of any playoff series? Absolutely. I sure do. Some of you asked me, should Priester start game 1? Should Woodruff start game 1? No. Freddie should start game 1. It was great to see Hoskins back. RBI single, just a second at bat, and his first hit since early July. I like that Hoskins coming off the bench. That's a nice pad for a small market Milwaukee Brewers team who opened up the wallet for him a couple of years ago. But since then, he's been replaced at first base because of his injury. But a bat like that coming off the bench, I'll take it. Yeah, I want Hoskins on my postseason roster without question. Bat like that coming off the bench, and who knows when you're going to need him. Like I said, I think Hoskins, we saw that base hit the left field on a 3-0 count nonetheless. That's something we can see out of Hoskins in the postseason. I really believe it because we got a deep run to make in the postseason. But first base hit since early July. Lack of clutch hitting with this team, thought in this series. You look at the 2 home runs they had to start the game on Wednesday. Nothing after that. Put guys on base, hard hit balls the night before. I don't want to hear any of that. Hard hit, loud outs, doesn't matter. Bad luck, doesn't matter. The Brewers certainly got their luck through some of those wins on their way to 89. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Baseball gods, sometimes they're on your side, sometimes they're not. But we'll see how this team bounces back. This is a big series against the St. Louis Cardinals who are coming here, and then the Angels after that. All right, we come back. Talk about Contreras, the latest Brewers injury, if you can believe it. A little bit of a surprise when he was scratched from the lineup card, and it was like, now what? All right, we'll get to that next here on Locked On Brewers. 5 Hour Energy, great sponsor here, and I'm a consumer of 5 Hour Energy, the cherry flavored. Time to fuel up, turn it up with 5 Hour Energy transfusion. Hey, grape, ginger, lime flavor, I'm telling you, gives you great concentration for afternoon hours after lunch. You know, when you have a little bit of an energy dip, 5 Hour Energy, 5 Hour Energy transfusion is terrific for when you go on the golf course, giving you that focus on the golf course and giving you that little extra energy boost. And golf, speaking of golf, something I love. I love golf. Golf, nothing like the game of golf. I've gotten into it for like 15 years, and I got that golf bug. And right now, 5 Hour Energy says, hey, we're going to give you a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament you want. Want to go to the Heritage, wherever you want to go, anything but the Masters. All you got to do is go to 5hewin.com, full rules and entries, and you're going to have a chance to enter. No purchase necessary, excludes the Masters, but again, a chance to go to any tournament you want. 5 Hour Energy, 5hewin.com. Also, show brought to you by FanDuel. NFL football week 2, about 90 miles from here. Got the Packers and Washington coming up tonight. You want to get in on all the action on FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Love their live betting on FanDuel. Maybe like the Pack tonight, they get down early against Washington, 7-0. Well, that minus 180 might turn into a pick 'em. Who knows? So if you're ready to play, download the Gametime, download the FanDuel app today. Visit FanDuel.com, download the app, get started. FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And when that $5 bet wins, $300 in bonus bets. Spend it on props, live betting, baseball, tennis, you name it. Anything you want to get it on. NFL season this year, college in full swing. Time to get in on all the action with America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet and a chance to get that $300 bonus. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Good to have you along. Hey, before we go any further, just want to thank you all for being longtime listeners and viewers of Locked On Brewers. I hear from you guys, you everydayers, every day. You email me, you message me on Facebook or my Twitter handle, Chuck Freimund, FREIMUND. If you're already watching us on YouTube, go to any of those audio platforms. If you're in your car or whatever, Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever. If you don't want to see my face, just listen to the audio version. Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button. Hit your alert on whatever platform you are. You're going to get Locked On Brewers every day free. If you're already listening to us on the audio platform, welcome to our beautiful Locked On Brewers studio. And We do it here 5 days a week, 7 days a week. Once the Brewers postseason gets underway, you bet you 7 days a week we'll be at it until, well, we're going to win a World Series championship this year, right? We're in this one. So go to Locked On Brewers on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell that alerts you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. Yeah, that lineup comes out, and then Contreras is scratched about a half hour before. And I'm like, what? Because it's not because of Contreras. He wants to be in every day. It's got to be something bugging him. And right now, he's got a contusion, a right arm contusion. So the good news here, it being a bone bruise or a contusion, nothing's torn, nothing that should keep him out long-term out of this lineup. But he wasn't feeling well before the game with that. Contreras is a gamer. That guy wants to be in every game. The first time he's missed a game since mid-June. Back when the Brewers played the Pirates. This is the first time he's missed a game. The guy is on an unbelievable run. In fact, if anything, I'd love to see him take more days off. McKelvey, my buddy from Brewers.com, always tells me, Chuck, this isn't 1987 anymore where these guys play 162. It's not the way it works. I get it. I understand it. Contreras needs a day off. And he had one yesterday. You don't want to give it to him because of injuries, but when he's not catching, he's DHing. You got to keep his bat in the lineup because he's great. He's batting 263, 17 home runs. But that doesn't speak to half of what Contreras does. Tuesday night, 2-run single up the middle, right? How many rallies? How many rallies has he started? How many rallies has he finished it? How many home runs has he hit? How many grand slams, 3-run shots? Contreras is the man. There's a reason why he's got a few MVP votes in a few years, in 23 and 24, I want to say, because he's the best catcher in baseball. He'll play every day. He's got a great attitude. The clubhouse loves him. The pitchers love him. And like I said, he's a bat you just can't take out of the lineup. Hopefully we'll watch that. But yeah, he's got some wear and tear at this time of the year. All these guys do. All these guys got a little bit of an injury going on. A lot of guys are playing through it. They're all playing through it. You can't help it but get to the dog days of now September, right? The pennant race. And speaking of the dog days, dog days are August, but the pennant race is September. This is what happens in September. Teams make runs. It's never, the old saying, it's never over till it's over. And that applies to the pennant races. All right. It applies. Again, the 2.5 game lead over the Phillies with 15 to go. It's going to take the Brewers playing some not so good baseball. But that team, Pat Murphy's not going to let that team flatten out. He is just not going to do it. He knows they didn't play a very good series against the Rangers. He knows that. It's their second off day. First off day since last Tuesday when they completed that 19-game and 18-day stretch. Off day today. And hopefully they're getting some R&R. Refreshing. Now let's hit the reset button. Let's not hit the panic button. Let's hit the reset button, Brewers fans, and start fresh at the ballpark at 7:05 coming up on Friday night. Should be a great weekend. And Saturday's at 7:15. I don't know why it's a 7:15 start on Saturday, but that was said. It says 7:15 since those schedules have come out. And then Sunday, a 1:10 start. Look to see you all at the ballpark coming up this weekend. If you see me, obviously, please stop me and say hello. All right, we come back. I'm going to get to a couple of questions that you have here in the mailbag. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do those right now. I want to do those now before we go into the break. I'll do a couple of those right now. T Twice says, good morning, Chuck. On your episode today, you asked what the Brewers' weakness is. In my opinion, maybe it ties in with the bullpen injuries. I'd say it's the starters' lack of going deep in the games. Yeah, the Brewers starters not going deep in the games, although lately the Brewers have been going deep in games. They've saved some of their frontline guys, like Uribe got a nice rest in this series, right? So I think he's going to be fresh. A couple of their Ashby, he's been used a lot, but I feel like with the day off and Wednesday's game, I feel like it's time to reset and get back at it. I feel like with the Pittsburgh series and a couple of these games, they weren't really in, really. They haven't had to use their frontline bullpen guys. So I feel like we're kind of getting a little bit of a reset lately with that bullpen. And yeah, starters need to go 6 or 7 innings. But Kevin, I'm particularly worried about the bullpen. Hopefully McGill isn't out much longer. And I said this yesterday. Yeah, McGill, they need him. There's 2 guys in particular, 3. They need Mears, DL Hall for long relief, and you got to get McGill back. You know, I know some of you guys are down on him, but, you know, maybe it was the flexor strain where he didn't pitch very well in his last 2 outings before going on the injured list. But we need McGill. We need him throwing 100 out of that bullpen. He still has been pretty good for them. 30 of 36 saves. Steve says it happens now. It'll happen in October. You can only play so long on dreams and aspirations. There's a guy who's given up on the Brewers. Channing says this is not a World Series team. Just got exposed. The series proves what happens in the playoffs or pitchers are locked in. They went 6-0 against the Dodgers this year. Okay. They won the season series from the Phillies. I know they didn't win the series from the season series from the Cubs, but the Brewers are pretty locked in. I'm going to cut them some slack in losing this 3-game series to the Rangers. Let's not let losing a series, a 3-game set against Texas, a team that's fighting for a playoff spot, let's not let that ruin. Okay, not let a 3-game series ruin it. K Real says, let's tip our hat to Texas. They've been on fire lately. Ben says, Brewers showing their true colors. They always set you up to let you down. Well, I know the Brewers always set you up to let you down. I'm hoping that this is the case. I don't even want to think about that. We have to manage our expectations. They've gone 11-14 since they won 14 straight. Yeah, they're 300 since Contreras, since Monasterio hit that pinch hit 3-run shot on a Saturday night in Cincinnati. They got beat the next day. And a little bit of a struggle since then. Since that Saturday night in Cincinnati, I believe it was August 17th, they have dropped, they've gone 11-14. All right. Silent Sinus says this to me. He's kind of taking me to task because I said, well, you know what? The Rangers have a lot to play for. Well, the Brewers do too. And he's trying to say, well, the Brewers do have a lot to play for. We're battling for our first World Series win ever. I get it. There's a lot more on the line than the Rangers. He's trying to tell me, well, when I said, well, the Rangers have more on the line than the Brewers. And he's trying to tell me, well, based on our history, we have more on the line. Well, if you look at it that way, the Brewers have a ton on the line. I mean, the history on that newspaper back there is the last time the Brewers have gone to the World Series. So there should be an urgency. But I'm just talking about this group here. This group here doesn't care about the past, right? I mean, there's nothing for them to shoulder about the last time the Brewers went to the World Series. That's for us. That's for us as fans. It's urgency for us fans, but not for this team. This team still, if you ask some of those guys, when's the last time you think this team went to the World Series? They couldn't tell you. Worried about this team, focusing on this team. All right, we come back, get the pitching matchup. The Brewers have announced who they're going to pitch this weekend, which is odd because usually we don't know about this until like the day of a series starts. We'll get to that next year on Locked On Brewers. Nutrafol, you've probably seen millions of ads for hair growing products and thought, sure, like that actually works. Well, Nutrafol actually does. I know there's a million products up there, but Nutrafol, you need to give a closer look to. Number one, dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people out there. Not just hype, supplemented, clinically tested, targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with proactive treatment. You'll see thicker, stronger hair, less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol offering Locked On MLB listeners, $10 off your first month subscription, free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com. Enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Again, number one, dermatologist recommended. Many people have had success. if you started noticing somebody who's losing their hair, recommend Nutrafol. Again, go to Nutrafol.com, Locked On MLB listeners, $10 off your first month subscription when you use the promo code Locked On MLB. My name is Chuck Freimund. Down the stretch we come. This Cardinals team coming in here, a couple of games under the 500 mark, 4.5 out of the wild card. Remember, the San Francisco Giants got back into the wild card chase on the Brewers. They came from behind and beat the Brewers on a Sunday afternoon. They've been kind of on a roll as of late, even though the last couple of days they've struggled. But these are going to be 3 hard-fought games against St. Louis at home, your division rival. I see Mason Wynn been playing on a bad wheel, got a meniscus tear. Their shortstop's been playing hurt. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year. Marmo, I think, has done a nice job with them. But, the St. Louis Cardinals, new general manager next year, they got rid of Schilt a couple of years ago, and I thought he was doing a nice job, but new GM might want a new manager, and Marmo might be on his way out. Who knows? We'll see at the end of the season. That's a St. Louis problem. This weekend, the Brewers with Priester on Friday, Woodruff on Saturday, and then the Miz on Sunday. I'm telling you, that sounds like 2 or 3 to me, at least in the pitching end. I'll take those 3 up against anybody in Major League Baseball. Be great to get a weekend sweep. I'll take 2 or 3, not a loser's mentality, but got to put the train back on the tracks and get a win coming up tomorrow night. All right, coming up, we'll talk more on the show tomorrow. We'll have another Friday episode of Locked On Brewers. And we'll get in a few things as well, including the Cardinals, and look ahead to the series and the weekend and all that and what's in store. Hang in there, Brewers fans. It was a tough week in Texas. Bounce back, hopefully, on Friday night. Home cooking against the St. Louis Cardinals. My name is Chuck Freimund. You've been watching and listening to Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.